From Ankara. Unfortunately, it looks like we haven't still been able to rectify that problem that we had with his connection. We will, of course, try our best to bring him into the conversation if we can. But just for a short break here, let's take a listen to one of our Facebook comments again, and we'll be back with the next question.
Turkey provides a route for liberal democracy for Muslims and wants to be introduced as a hero in the Muslim world.
Now, that, of course, being the focal point of this debate, Turkey saying initially, Ms. Petros, that it is following a policy of zero problems. Right now, it looks like this isn't the case. Now, the question would be why this went wrong. Do you think that it was Turkey basically because of its alliance with NATO, or because of its wishes to get itself into the European Union, whatever, had to basically follow the policies of Washington and Tel Aviv here? Or do you think that at some point of time there was a change in priorities?
I think that it's an incremental process. Let's not forget that Erdogan and his party were recent arrivals to power. They had to justify themselves as a government respecting the Ataturk tradition, so they couldn't openly declare their religious basis of their politics. Now, it's a religious neoliberal political movement. It's not a traditionalist Muslim movement. It is one that embraces neoliberal capitalism, and it uses its religion to build its mass base to complement that economic policies. And as a result of that, it has built bridges with more conservative Muslim groups, and these groups are currently under siege, and by Iran, in the Emirates, in Saudi Arabia, and even in Egypt today. So one has to say this, that it's not simply Erdogan building bridges or becoming a hero of Muslims. He's hated by many Muslims who don't support his allies in these very conservative Gulf states and in Egypt. The great majority of the demonstrators today are opposed to Morsi and indirectly opposed to Erdogan, the democracy movements.
So Erdogan... Yeah, Mr. Petros, sorry for jumping here. Because along the lines that you're just mentioning there, we have a comment that could be viewed as a question on this issue. Let's take a look at this final comment now on our Facebook page, and I'll be back with the question related to it.
The EU is shaky, and Ankara is playing right into the designs of the Wahhabi Zionists. Ankara must act wisely.
A call there by one of our viewers for Ankara to act wisely. You referred there, Ms. Petros, to the opposition in Turkey. There have been similar calls, and a lot of people have been saying that before this, the United States did have some kind of a grip in the region, but the wave of the popular uprisings changed a lot, and the United States was losing its grip over the fate of the Middle East. And this actually had contributed to Turkey's important role as a regional player, even an influential player in the Islamic world. And a lot of people are saying that's why the United States actually intervened to change that. Now, do you think that Turkey, as our viewer there was suggesting, is actually caught in a trap of some sort?
Well, I don't think Turkey's in a trap. I think that Erdogan is very conscious and very deliberate in each one of his moves. The fact that he's moved in to northern Iraq, working with the Kurds, at the same time that they're shooting and repressing Kurds in eastern Turkey. Signs agreement with Öcalan at the same time that Turkey is attempting to gain influence among the Kurds in northern Syria. So I think they're playing a very clever game of divide and conquer. And I don't think there's any manipulation. Erdogan is very aware of the Wahhabis and their brand of Muslim politics, their kind of capitalism, rentier capitalism. I think these are temporary working relationships in which Turkey basically is trying to assert its own hegemony and sharing power with Israel and the United States and the European Union. It's not looking to oust them. It just wants to get its share of power and oil wealth and markets in this region.
So, Mr. Petrus, just as the concluding question here before we end the show, that is, a lot of analysts have been suggesting that from the time that Turkey decided to reconcile with Israel and to resume ties with Israel, this is starting to change the balance of power right now between Turkey and its neighbours, specifically Iraq and Syria. Do you think this is the start of a process?
Well, let's be very clear. Israel is a dominant military power. It has nuclear weapons. Turkey doesn't. Israel gets $3 billion plus from the United States. Turkey gets nothing. Israel goes to war with Iran. The United States automatically jumps in. These give Israel a very important role, militarist role, as a collaborator of Western expansionism. Turkey is a dominant group with activities regarding Syria and Iraq, and it plays a very important role in relation to those two countries, specifically in fomenting the overthrow of Assad and the annexation or separation of northern Iraq from the rest of the country. That's where its power lies. It's not a country which can act throughout the region independently of the U.S. and Israel.
James Petrus, author and emeritus professor of Binghamton University, with us there from New York. Thank you very much, Ms. Petrus, for being with us. I do apologise for the technical problem we had. Our guest in Ankara, Professor Hussein Bakshi, couldn't be with us on this debate. Thank you very much for staying with us. From me, Homa Lesgi. Until our next programme, it's goodbye.